She was Hollywood's perfect wife, a star who defined sophistication and grace in the golden age of cinema. But behind that radiant charm was a woman who fought typecasting, survived Hollywood politics, and built one of the most respected legacies in film history.
Hey, Wyatt.
And, Lieutenant, I've got something. I've been doing a little detecting on my own. That flatfoot I married thinks he's smart, but I'm just one jump ahead of him.
Well, that's swell, Mr. Charles.
How'd you like Grant's tomb?
It's lovely. I'm having a copy made for you.
This is the story of Myrna Loy. If you love classic Hollywood stories, don't forget to subscribe to Sajjad Classic for more timeless legends. Myrna Loy was born Myrna Adele Williams on August 2nd, 1905, in Helena, Montana, at a time when Hollywood itself didn't even exist yet. She grew up in the wide-open landscapes of Montana, the daughter of rancher David Williams and his wife, Adele. Her father, a well-respected man in the community, instilled in her a sense of discipline and strength, while her mother encouraged her interest in the arts. From a very young age, Myrna showed a natural love for performance. She trained in dance and developed a poise and elegance that stood out even in childhood. Teachers and family friends often noted her unusual grace, and she began to imagine herself on the stage. But tragedy struck when her father passed away unexpectedly. The loss deeply affected the family, and her mother made the difficult decision to leave Montana behind. They relocated to Los Angeles, a move that would ultimately change the course of Myrna's life. At the time, Los Angeles was not just a growing city but the beating heart of a new industry, motion pictures. Without realizing it, the Williams family had placed themselves at the doorstep of Hollywood. In Los Angeles, Myrna attended Venice High School, where her beauty quickly made her a local figure of fascination. In fact, her image was immortalized when she posed for the sculptor Harry Weinbrenner, who created a life-size statue of her for the school grounds. The statue, called Inspiration, still stands today, a silent reminder of her teenage years before fame. Even as a student, she was drawn to the world of performance. She began appearing in local stage productions and worked in chorus lines, humble beginnings that gave her valuable stage presence and confidence. Hollywood was close, and Myrna Loy was inching toward it, not yet as a star, but as a young woman testing the waters of show business. By the time she left high school, Myrna Loy had grown into a striking young woman with a quiet confidence that made people take notice. She wasn't yet the polished star Hollywood would later adore, but she carried a blend of elegance and determination that set her apart. Like many young hopefuls in Los Angeles, she began by taking whatever opportunities came her way. Her early work wasn't glamorous, chorus lines, dance performances, and small background parts, but each role gave her a taste of the stage and the camera. She was learning, adapting, and slowly stepping into the world of performance. Her break into films came almost by chance, thanks to her exotic looks, accentuated by her high cheekbones and striking eyes. She was often cast in small parts that required mystery or allure. She appeared in silent films throughout the late 1920s, sometimes without even receiving credit, but those experiences gave her valuable exposure. One of her earliest credited appearances was in Pretty Ladies, 1925, where she played a dancer in the background. Though it was a small role, it marked the official start of her Hollywood journey. She soon followed with bit parts in films like Ben-Hur, 1925, where she appeared as a slave girl, and What Price Beauty, 1925, a minor film that nevertheless caught attention because of her striking screen presence. These roles were brief, but they mattered. They placed her inside the Hollywood system, where casting directors began to remember her face. Myrna Loy was no longer just a girl from Montana. She was becoming a working actress in the silent era, waiting for her true breakthrough. After her uncredited background work, Myrna Loy's career began to take shape with small but memorable roles that highlighted her beauty and screen presence. 1925 marked the year of her first credited appearance on screen. Pretty Ladies, 1925, Myrna's earliest credited role, where she played a chorus dancer. It was a brief moment, but for her it meant finally seeing her name attached to a Hollywood film. Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, 1925. She appeared as a slave girl in the monumental silent epic. Although the role was minor, working on such a massive production exposed her to the scale and demands of Hollywood filmmaking. What Price Beauty, filmed in 1925, released later in 1928. Here, Myrna played a manicurist. While the film itself was modest, her appearance caught attention because of her striking, almost exotic look. Studio executives began to see her as a perfect fit for mysterious or foreign characters. Myrna's distinct features led to her being cast as the other woman, often sultry vamps, Asian characters, or villainesses. Though she disliked this typecasting, it was steady work, and she appeared in a string of films. Across the Pacific, 1926, she played a Eurasian character, setting the tone for the exotic parts she'd often be given. The Heart of a Siren, 1925, and A Girl Like That, 1927. These reinforced her vamp image. The Crimson City, 1928. Cast as an Asian woman opposite Leatrice Joy, she gave a convincing performance that kept her in demand for such roles. Critics at the time noticed her beauty more than her acting, but audiences remembered her face, which helped her rise slowly through the MGM system. Myrna had one advantage many silent stars didn't: her voice. Smooth, warm, and cultured, it perfectly matched her elegant screen presence. While others struggled with the transition to sound, she adapted seamlessly. 13 Women.
You must send it.
Have I lost the power to divine the stars?
No, Swami. But you must send the letter. For the sake of those 12 women who wrote the round robin asking for their horoscopes. They were schoolgirls together. Their lives form one chain of destiny. 12 women who believe. Don't destroy their faith in the occult, Swami.
After years of playing exotic temptresses and secondary roles, Myrna Loy finally got her chance to carry a film. In 1932, she starred in 13 Women, a chilling pre-code thriller that gave her one of her first major lead roles. She played Ursula Georgi, a half-Asian woman who, fueled by resentment and bitterness, uses astrology and psychological manipulation to drive her former classmates toward destruction. It was a daring role for the time, dark, sinister, and completely against the perfect wife persona she would later embody. Critics at the time were divided. Some dismissed the film's melodramatic plot, while others noted Loy's magnetic screen presence, even when playing a villain. Though 13 Women was not a box office success, it showed Hollywood that she could command the screen in a leading capacity. This was an important milestone. Her first starring role may have been in a sinister disguise, but it proved she had the range and charisma to carry a film on her shoulders. In fact, the role is now considered one of her most interesting pre-stardom performances, showing a side of Myrna Loy audiences rarely associate with her later career. Penthouse, 1933.
Your life is just a little bit more important to me than mine.
It's a long shot, 100 to 1.
I'll take a chance.
You sure you want to do it?
When it comes to a showdown between you and Krellerman, I'm betting on you.
You may be betting your life.
But I bet all.
Breaking the mold. By 1933, Myrna Loy had spent nearly a decade in Hollywood, often cast as mysterious foreign women or dangerous vamps. But Penthouse changed everything. In this stylish crime drama directed by W.S. Van Dyke, she played Mimi Montaigne, a high-class escort who helps a lawyer, played by Warner Baxter, solve a murder case that could ruin his reputation. This film marked a turning point for Loy. It was the first time audiences saw her intelligence and warmth balanced with allure. She wasn't just the seductive woman anymore. She was clever, poised, and deeply human. Critics immediately took notice. Her performance as Mimi brought a new sophistication to the screen. She had charm, but also substance, and that combination fascinated both audiences and MGM executives. Director Van Dyke saw something others had missed, that Myrna Loy could deliver wit and emotional intelligence just as gracefully as beauty. It was his faith in her that would later lead to her casting in The Thin Man, the film that would define her stardom. In many ways, Penthouse was her quiet rebirth, the movie that transformed her from a typecast supporting actress into a woman ready for leading roles. Men in White, 1934. A new kind of woman.
We have a guest.
Hello. Dr. George,
Yes, Barbara.
what are they going to do to me?
He was too busy to see me. He didn't have time for me. But he had time. That's what hurts. Hurts like the devil.
Right after Penthouse, Myrna took another bold step with Men in White, 1934. A daring and controversial medical drama starring Clark Gable. She played Laura Hudson, a sophisticated socialite in love with a dedicated young doctor, Gable, who becomes entangled in a moral crisis after a tragic mistake involving a nurse. The film, subtle but provocative, dealt with taboo subjects like medical ethics and abortion, topics Hollywood rarely touched in that era. Loy's portrayal of Laura was understated but powerful. She brought depth to a woman torn between love and propriety, emotion and restraint. Audiences saw a mature, modern woman, compassionate, intelligent, and real.
All right. Go ahead. Make your beautiful gesture. Marry her.
I'm going to.
Just because it's the easiest way out. Because you're afraid of what people will say about you. You're a coward.
The film was a critical and commercial success, and reviewers praised Loy for adding emotional balance to Gable's fiery performance. It proved she could handle serious drama just as well as lighter roles. With Men in White, she left behind the last traces of her exotic phase and stepped confidently into Hollywood's A-list. Manhattan Melodrama, 1934.
Wrong. I fell in love with a very little boy who was playing with a great big box of matches. And I don't want that little boy to get burned.
Don't worry about your little boy.
Good night.
No good night kiss. Well, that proves something. I've been asleep all night, and you're just something I dreamed about.
Then came Manhattan Melodrama, released just months before The Thin Man. Directed again by W.S. Van Dyke, the film starred Clark Gable and William Powell, with Myrna Loy completing this magnetic trio. She played Eleanor, a woman torn between two men, one a principal district attorney, Powell, the other a charming but doomed gangster, Gable. It was a role filled with quiet strength and emotional nuance, and Loy handled it with perfect restraint. The film's themes of loyalty, love, and moral conflict gave her space to display real emotional depth. Critics praised her poise and subtle expressiveness, noting how effortlessly she balanced affection and sorrow. But beyond the performance itself, Manhattan Melodrama was important for another reason. It marked the first on-screen pairing of Myrna Loy and William Powell. Their chemistry was electric, natural, and immediate. MGM noticed it instantly. The studio realized it had struck gold, and just weeks later, Van Dyke cast them together again in The Thin Man. Manhattan Melodrama became both a box office hit and a historical footnote. It was the last movie gangster John Dillinger watched before being shot outside the theater. But for Myrna Loy, it symbolized something else. The final step of her transformation from typecast beauty to Hollywood's ultimate lady of charm and intelligence. The Thin Man, 1934.
I'm not taking him, he's taking me.
Are you hurt, madam? Are you hurt, madam?
Oh, women and children first, boys.
Say, what is the score, anyway?
Oh, so it's you he was after.
Hello,
You know, that sounds like an interesting case. Why don't you take it? Well, it sounds like a good case. Girl mysteriously murdered. Nobody knows who did it. Haven't found any clues. No gun, no fingerprints. Asper's your balloon busted? So's mine.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, the mystery's all gone. I was hoping you'd find out who did it.
If Manhattan melodrama hinted at Myrna Loy's brilliance, The Thin Man confirmed it. Directed once again by W.S. Van Dyke, this witty blend of mystery and comedy paired her with William Powell as the charming husband and wife detective duo Nick and Nora Charles. Loy played Nora, the stylish, quick-witted socialite who matches her husband's intelligence sip for sip and quip for quip. From the very first scene, her chemistry with Powell was undeniable. They didn't just act like a married couple. They felt like one, playful yet deeply connected, teasing yet tender. The film was based on Dashiell Hammett's novel, but it was Loy and Powell's natural banter that made it sparkle. Critics adored their humor and sophistication. Audiences loved the effortless way they made marriage look like an adventure. For Myrna Loy, The Thin Man was life-changing. It shattered her old image of the exotic temptress and replaced it with one of the modern American woman, graceful, independent, intelligent, and funny. She became Hollywood's ideal wife, the kind every man admired and every woman wanted to emulate. The film became a massive box office success and earned 4 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. MGM, recognizing the magic they had created, turned it into a series that would span 6 films over 13 years, and at the heart of it all was the incomparable charm of Myrna Loy. Evelyn Prentice, 1934.
No, Mary. I'm sorry. It's no go.
What are you driving at? You can't make a fool of your husband?
Regret having gone to your apartment. How's that, huh?
Mary, give me those letters. Give me those letters.
But they might have been misinterpreted. He wouldn't return them to me. He wanted money. There was a gun lying in an open drawer. I picked it up. I didn't intend to use it in drinking. He struck me. I fell back. My elbow hit the wall. And the gun went off accidentally.
Fresh from The Thin Man's success, Myrna Loy reunited with William Powell in Evelyn Prentice, a tense courtroom drama revealing a deeper, more emotional side of her talent. She played Evelyn, the neglected wife of a prominent lawyer whose flirtation leads to scandal and tragedy. Loy's restrained yet heartfelt performance, especially in her courtroom confession, won praise for its sincerity and dignity. Though the film didn't match The Thin Man's acclaim, it proved her dramatic range and further cemented her magnetic partnership with Powell, making them one of Hollywood's most admired screen duos. Whipsaw, 1935.
For the last 3 weeks, a gang of the most desperate men in the country have been waiting for me to move. They watched me night and day.
Watch your step, Vi.
I'll be careful. I still don't understand why I have to go along to get my share. Why don't you and Harry go right on to Shanghai and send me my cut after you dispose of the pearls? When I told you this was my last job, Ed, I meant it.
After mastering both comedy and drama, Myrna Loy took on Whipsaw in 1935, opposite the charismatic Spencer Tracy, a new screen partner who matched her intelligence and intensity. In this romantic crime drama, she played Vivian Palmer, a jewel thief caught between love and the law. Tracy's character, a government agent sent to capture her, instead finds himself falling for her charm. The result was a film charged with tension, wit, and irresistible chemistry. Whipsaw offered Loy something different, a role that allowed her to blend romance, mystery, and adventure, all while keeping her trademark elegance intact. Critics praised her for adding warmth to what could have been a standard crime story, turning it into a tale of heart as much as intrigue. Audiences loved the dynamic between her and Tracy. The spark between them felt natural, mature, and full of unspoken emotion. This film further established Myrna as one of MGM's most reliable leading ladies, capable of lifting any genre with her intelligence and subtle sensuality. Wife versus Secretary, 1936.
You've been an absolutely model mother-in-law, Mimi. All right, then I'm going to give you some now. Get rid of that secretary of Van's. Miss Wilson, Van couldn't live without.
Oh, Mimi, you were so right. Oh, I'm so unhappy.
The secretary.
Yes.
In this sophisticated romantic drama, Myrna Loy starred opposite Clark Gable and Jean Harlow, forming one of MGM's most magnetic trios. Loy played Linda Stanhope, the devoted wife of a charming but work-absorbed businessman, Gable. When gossip and jealousy creep in, suspicion tests her trust. Yet instead of resorting to melodrama, Myrna portrayed Linda with quiet intelligence and emotional restraint. Her performance reflected maturity, a woman who faces heartache with dignity, not despair. Critics praised her for bringing depth to domestic drama, and the film's success reinforced her screen image as the intelligent modern wife who could balance strength with tenderness. After The Thin Man, 1936.
Nicky, here I am. Excuse me.
Huh?
Wait a minute.
What?
Wait.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well,
Here I am.
This is a fine way to start the new year.
Nicky, get me out of here.
How long has this thing with David been going on?
Oh, stop that. Get me out of here. I've got something to tell you.
Nicky, can you reach the water? Can you reach the water?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I don't want it. I just wanted to be sure you could reach it.
Hot on the heels of The Thin Man's success, Myrna Loy and William Powell reunited as Nick and Nora Charles in this sparkling sequel that elevated their on-screen chemistry to new heights. Set against the backdrop of San Francisco high society, the film opens with the couple returning home after a long trip, only to find themselves entangled in yet another murder mystery, this time involving Nora's own family. The story skillfully blended suspense with razor-sharp humor, turning detective work into a stylish game of wit and charm. Myrna's Nora was radiant, playful yet poised, clever yet compassionate. She matched Powell's Nick word for word, quip for quip, with effortless grace. Her timing was impeccable. Even in moments of tension, she infused warmth and sparkle. Together, they created something rare, a couple whose love felt authentic, built on respect, humor, and partnership. Critics hailed the film as a sequel that equals the original, with particular praise for Loy's balance of comedy and elegance. The New York Times called her the screen's most delightful companion, and audiences agreed. With After the Thin Man, Loy and Powell proved they weren't just solving crimes, they were redefining the idea of cinematic romance. Their sophisticated banter and magnetic charm turned mystery into pure movie magic, making this film one of the era's most polished gems. Double Wedding, 1937. In Double Wedding, Myrna Loy and William Powell switched gears once again, this time diving into pure screwball chaos. She played Margaret Agnew, a strong-willed society woman whose plans for her sister's future are turned upside down by Powell's carefree artist, Charlie Lodge. The film was a whirlwind of fast dialogue, mistaken identities, and romantic tension, elevated by the pair's irresistible chemistry. Even amid the comedic frenzy, Myrna maintained her signature sophistication, proving she could command laughter with the same finesse she brought to drama. Though lighter than their mystery outings, Double Wedding was another testament to the effortless rhythm between Loy and Powell, Hollywood's most graceful and intelligent screen duo. Too Hot to Handle, 1938. In Too Hot to Handle, Myrna Loy once again teamed up with Clark Gable, rekindling the charm they displayed in Wife versus Secretary. This time the tone was adventurous, a fast-paced mix of romance, journalism, and rivalry. Gable played a daring war correspondent, and Loy was the strong-willed reporter who could match his wit line for line. The film blended screwball energy with newsroom drama, allowing Loy to shine as a woman who was not just beautiful, but bold and self-assured. Her chemistry with Gable was undeniable, their playful tension adding an irresistible spark that made audiences root for them from start to finish. It wasn't just about romance, it was about respect between equals, something Myrna brought naturally to every role. Another Thin Man, 1939. By 1939, Myrna Loy and William Powell had perfected the art of on-screen partnership. In Another Thin Man, the third entry in the Thin Man series, Nick and Nora Charles were now parents, yet as always, trouble had a way of finding them. This time, the couple found themselves caught in another murder mystery, with Loy's Nora juggling motherhood, marriage, and mayhem with her signature poise. The humor was sharper, the chemistry deeper, and the charm effortless. Myrna's ability to bring warmth to the mystery genre made her portrayal unforgettable. One of the film's most endearing details lies behind the scenes. Asta, the famous terrier, was almost as popular as Powell and Loy themselves. He had his own trainer, salary, and even fan mail. Powell once joked that Asta stole more close-ups than any actor in Hollywood, and Myrna adored working with him. Another fascinating bit of trivia. During filming, both Powell and Loy were dealing with personal challenges, Powell recovering from a serious illness, and Loy balancing a grueling shooting schedule, but their professionalism was flawless. The chemistry that audiences saw on screen wasn't just acting. It was a genuine trust and friendship that translated beautifully into every scene. Critics praised Another Thin Man for maintaining the sharp wit and romantic elegance of the earlier films. Loy's performance, in particular, was singled out for capturing both the sophistication of Nora Charles and the warmth of a new mother. It proved once again that no one could combine intelligence, humor, and heart quite like Myrna Loy. I Love You Again, 1940. Reuniting once more with William Powell, Myrna Loy stepped into I Love You Again, a clever romantic comedy built on mistaken identity and rediscovered affection. Powell played a man who, after a bump on the head, remembers his roguish past and tries to win back his estranged wife, played, of course, by Loy. The film was a delightful blend of screwball timing and emotional charm. Myrna's sharp wit and radiant presence grounded the comedy, turning what could have been just another farce into something genuinely heartfelt. Audiences loved it, and critics noted how effortlessly Loy and Powell's chemistry carried the entire story. By now, they weren't just a beloved screen couple. They were Hollywood's symbol of sophisticated romance, two stars whose timing, elegance, and affection made every scene feel alive. Love Crazy, 1941. Madness in the Name of Love. In Love Crazy, Myrna Loy and William Powell delivered one of their funniest and most charming performances. They played Susan and Steve Ireland, a happily married couple whose fourth anniversary unravels after an innocent misunderstanding spirals into suspicion and comic chaos. When Susan suspects her husband of infidelity, a whirlwind of mistaken identities and farcical situations follows, culminating in Steve pretending to be insane just to win her back. Loy's performance was delightful. She blended exasperation, intelligence, and affection so naturally that audiences couldn't help but root for her. Critics admired her comedic control, calling her the embodiment of wit without exaggeration. Love Crazy proved that even when playing a jealous wife in absurd situations, Myrna Loy could keep the comedy smart, the romance sincere, and the emotion real. Shadow of the Thin Man, 1941. By the time Shadow of the Thin Man arrived, Myrna Loy and William Powell had become Hollywood royalty as Nick and Nora Charles, the detective couple everyone adored. In this fourth installment, the pair found themselves in yet another whirlwind of crime, glamour, and sharp-tongued humor, this time involving a racetrack murder and a web of deceit that only Nick and Nora could unravel. Myrna's Nora Charles was, as always, the heart of the film. She brought sophistication, wit, and curiosity to the character, never content to stay on the sidelines. While Nick did the questioning, Nora's intelligence and intuition were quietly steering the investigation forward. Loy's Nora wasn't just comic relief. She was an equal partner, one who saw the world with both warmth and irony. Trivia. During production, America had just entered World War II. Despite the tension in the industry, the set was famously cheerful. Powell often improvised lines just to make Loy laugh, and their genuine friendship brought a natural ease to their scenes. Even their playful bickering came off as affectionate rather than rehearsed. Critics praised the film's breezy tone and the couple's effortless rapport. The New York Herald-Tribune wrote, "Powell and Loy's timing remains as crisp as champagne, an art few others can imitate." Myrna's luminous presence kept the mystery buoyant, turning crime-solving into high-class entertainment. The Thin Man Goes Home, 1944. 3 years later, Loy and Powell reunited in The Thin Man Goes Home, taking Nick and Nora out of the city's glittering nightlife and into small-town America. This time, the couple traveled to Nick's hometown for a much-needed vacation, only to stumble upon yet another murder mystery. For Myrna's Nora, this was a refreshing change of setting. She wasn't surrounded by martinis and high society anymore, but by Nick's skeptical family and nosy neighbors. Her character brought warmth and humor to every awkward small-town moment, balancing the down-to-earth tone with her natural sophistication. Loy played Nora with subtle irony, still chic and playful, but now more grounded, revealing the depth behind the charm. Trivia. Wartime limitations influenced every part of the production. MGM cut budgets, trimmed sets, and even banned alcohol from the script to align with wartime values. Loy and Powell, however, made up for it with sheer chemistry. Their dialogue was often improvised, and some of the film's most beloved exchanges were born spontaneously on set. Critics appreciated the film's intimate approach. The Los Angeles Times called it a lighter, warmer entry that deepens the Charleses as people, while Variety praised Loy's gentle elegance and perfect comic timing. Even without the glitz of earlier installments, her performance made the film feel like a homecoming, not just for Nick, but for the audience too. The Best Years of Our Lives, 1946. Then came The Best Years of Our Lives, one of the defining achievements of Myrna Loy's entire career. She portrayed Millie Stevenson, the steady, compassionate wife of a World War II veteran, played by Frederick March, struggling to find his place in peacetime America. Gone were the witty comebacks and sparkling gowns. This was Loy stripped to emotional truth. Her Millie was the quiet strength holding her family together, a woman who understood that love wasn't always about words, but about patience, faith, and endurance. Critics and audiences were deeply moved. The New York Times hailed her performance as a portrait of tenderness and truth, while many viewers wrote to praise how authentically she represented real American wives of the era. The film swept 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and remains one of the most celebrated works in American cinema. For Myrna Loy, it marked her evolution from Hollywood's most elegant comedienne to an actress of profound emotional depth, a true reflection of her artistry and humanity. The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer, 1947. In The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer, Myrna Loy once again proved her gift for intelligent comedy, this time sharing the screen with Cary Grant and a young Shirley Temple. Loy played Judge Margaret Turner, a sophisticated woman trying to manage her teenage sister, Temple, who becomes infatuated with a charming bachelor, Grant. The story was pure delight, witty, fast-paced, and bursting with charm. Myrna's Judge Turner was both the voice of reason and the heart of the film, handling romantic chaos with wit, maturity, and that signature Loy composure. Her exchanges with Cary Grant were a masterclass in timing. Their playful tension made every scene sparkle. The film was a box office hit and earned the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, with critics praising its light, civilized humor and Myrna's effortless grace. She once again embodied the modern, intelligent woman, balancing warmth, humor, and authority with seamless precision. Song of the Thin Man, 1947. By 1947, Song of the Thin Man marked the final chapter in the beloved Nick and Nora Charles saga. The glamorous detective duo returned for one last case, this time set against the smoky jazz clubs of post-war New York. Myrna Loy's Nora Charles was as stylish and sharp as ever. She navigated the nightlife scene with the same poise she'd brought since the very first film, balancing intrigue with humor and that playful affection that made audiences fall in love with the Charleses years earlier. But this time there was a subtle change. Nick and Nora were older, wiser, and perhaps a little nostalgic. Myrna portrayed Nora with a touch of maturity, reflecting the evolution of both the character and the times. The glamorous parties of the 1930s had given way to the smoky sophistication of the late 40s, and Loy carried that transition beautifully. Trivia. During filming, both Loy and Powell privately felt it might be their final outing as the iconic couple, and they were right. Their chemistry remained effortless, but MGM's tone had shifted toward newer trends. Interestingly, Myrna later recalled that the set was filled with jazz musicians actually performing live, giving the scenes their authentic rhythm. Even Powell's piano playing was partially real. He practiced with the musicians to get the hand movements right. Critics received the film warmly, noting that, though the mystery may be thinner, the charm remains intact. It was a stylish farewell to one of cinema's most enduring partnerships. Nick and Nora bowed out with the same grace that had defined them from the start. Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, 1948. In this classic slice-of-life comedy, Myrna Loy reunited with Cary Grant to play Muriel Blandings, the patient wife of a New York advertising man who decides to build their dream home in the Connecticut countryside. Of course, everything that could go wrong does, from runaway budgets to collapsing walls, but through it all, Loy's steady humor anchors the chaos. Her Muriel is the perfect counterpart to Grant's flustered idealist, understanding, amused, and always one step ahead. Critics admired her effortless warmth, and the film's light-hearted take on post-war domestic dreams made it a huge hit. Even today, Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House feels timeless, part romantic comedy, part gentle satire of suburban life, carried by the radiant balance between Loy's calm intelligence and Grant's comedic energy. Cheaper by the Dozen, 1950. In Cheaper by the Dozen, Myrna Loy delivered one of her most beloved performances as Lillian Gilbreth, the real-life mother of 12 children and a pioneering psychologist. Opposite Clifton Webb, who played her eccentric husband, she brought warmth, humor, and emotional depth to the role of a woman balancing family, intellect, and love. The film captured the beautiful chaos of large family life with sincerity and affection. Loy's Lillian wasn't just a background mother figure. She was the emotional glue of the story, handling every challenge with gentle humor and grace. Audiences adored the film, and critics praised Loy's portrayal as one of the most tender and authentic performances of her career. It reminded viewers that behind the Hollywood glamour, Myrna Loy's greatest gift was her ability to make every role feel real, whether she was a judge, a wife, or a mother of 12. As Hollywood evolved, Myrna Loy gracefully transitioned to television, proving that her elegance and emotional depth transcended mediums. Her first notable TV appearance came with Meet Me in St. Louis, 1959, a television adaptation of the beloved MGM classic. Taking on the matriarchal role originally played by Mary Astor, Loy brought warmth and quiet sophistication to the part, earning praise for her to retain cinematic grace in a small-screen format. Over a decade later, she appeared in Death Takes a Holiday, 1971, a television remake of the 1934 classic. Playing the wise, dignified Mrs. Chapman, she added a gentle humanity to the fantasy drama. Critics noted that her presence lent a touch of old Hollywood class to the production. Her final major TV appearance was in Summer Solstice, 1981, opposite Henry Fonda. It was a tender, reflective drama about love and aging, and the chemistry between the two veterans was deeply moving. Many critics called it a beautiful farewell from two of cinema's finest. In addition to these highlights, Loy made occasional guest appearances on anthology series and specials throughout the 1950s and 60s, but she always approached television with the same professionalism and quiet dignity that defined her film career. Even in her later years, Myrna Loy remained the embodiment of timeless grace, a woman whose charm never depended on youth or glamour, but on sincerity, wit, and humanity. Though the world adored her as Hollywood's ideal wife and the picture of serenity, Myrna Loy's real life told a more complex, quietly courageous story. Behind the camera, her romantic life was marked not by fairy tale endings, but by the kind of bittersweet realism she often portrayed with such honesty on screen. She married 4 times, yet none of those marriages lasted, a fact she accepted with trademark wit. "I suppose," she once quipped, "I made a far better wife in the movies than I ever did in real life." Her first marriage was to Arthur Hornblow, Jr., a respected film producer nearly 2 decades her senior. For a time, their union seemed like the perfect Hollywood match: glamorous dinners, studio parties, and creative exchange. But Loy's growing fame and the pressures of Hollywood life took their toll. After 7 years together, they quietly divorced in 1942. Not long after, she married John Hertz, Jr., heir to the Hertz car rental fortune. It was a whirlwind romance filled with high society glamour, but the marriage was short-lived. Loy later admitted that she was still searching for something deeper, a partnership that could match her independence and values. Her third husband, Gene Markey, was a screenwriter and Navy officer known for his charm and sharp wit, a man who had also been married to actresses Hedy Lamarr and Joan Bennett. But despite their shared Hollywood circles, the marriage faltered within a year. Loy's final marriage to Howland H. Sargent, a UNESCO official, seemed more promising. It introduced her to the world of diplomacy and public service, aligning with her growing passion for humanitarian work. Yet even this union ended in divorce after several years, leaving her single for the rest of her life. Though she never had children, Myrna Loy filled her life with meaningful friendships. She was beloved among her peers, respected not just for her talent, but for her intelligence, warmth, and quiet strength. Friends like William Powell, Clark Gable, and Montgomery Clift often spoke of her loyalty and sense of humor, qualities that endeared her to everyone who knew her. What truly set her apart, however, was her integrity beyond Hollywood's glamour. While many stars stayed silent on political matters, Loy used her voice fearlessly. She was an early and vocal critic of Adolf Hitler, speaking out against fascism before the United States even entered World War II. During the war, she worked tirelessly with the Red Cross and was deeply involved in efforts to support soldiers and civilians alike. Later, she became an advocate for civil rights, long before it became fashionable in Hollywood. She refused to be part of segregated productions and supported organizations fighting for racial equality. Her moral clarity and sense of justice made her one of the few Golden Age stars who carried real-world principles into her stardom. In 1991, the Academy awarded her an honorary Oscar, recognizing her as an actress of uncommon grace, wit, and talent. It was a long-overdue honor for a woman who had graced Hollywood for decades without a single Oscar nomination. Myrna Loy passed away on December 14, 1993, at the age of 88. She left behind a legacy as one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses, a star who brought elegance, humor, and heart to the screen. Myrna Loy's life was a blend of grace and resilience. From being typecast as exotic vamps to becoming Hollywood's ideal wife, she showed incredible range and depth. Her films continue to charm audiences today, proving that true elegance never fades.